Really just kick off by thanking them for keeping to time. It's always very difficult with such huge and complex areas to cover. To thank them, I think, for providing such a succinct introduction to a complex and often misunderstood relationship between poverty, abuse, neglect, and child protection. I get a real sense of how current approaches too often are failing families, but also failing practitioners as well, and setting out what's quite a challenging proposal for a different model and a different approach to child protection, to social services, children's services in the context that we've described. We've got plenty of time later on. We'll hear some responses in a few minutes, and we've got plenty of time later on to get into discussion and debate. So this session is really just to for questions, really, to both of our authors. Questions of kind of elaboration or clarification, or just if you want to tease out a bit more about anything that either of you have said. So that.
Social worker, and I've just recently found Ken Atley's article from the 1920s, social worker as political activist, and he sets out a manifesto that we could actually pick up today, and Ken Atley's kind of the broader state. So actually the role of the social worker really should be the activist, that is in the community and having a community model. So I do think there is that thing about it's not just like social workers might be the experts, but actually we could and should and can have skills that bring the communities together and actually be people as well, that people actually want in their homes and want in schools and people that they come to help rather than as a practicing social worker, you always get that thing where you're not like other social workers. Well, that's maybe I am, maybe I'm not, I don't know. But I do think there is that thing. We've got to be we can reclaim that, because that is the roots of social work. Is actually where the people who showed the wounds, the original alumnists showed the wounds and said this needs to change, rather than the people that were writing reports about the wounds that they observed.
Yes, I completely agree. Sorry, is this in?
People here.
Is this on? I'll shout because we could hear you. Oh, that's better. Katrina, I completely agree with you. I think it's a real shame that certainly social workers, in my experience certainly in England, virtually completely retreated from any sort of community development or community work. And we could do so much more, and we could do so much better with families, with communities. If we were, given mandate, given time, given resources to do so, but that's within the work. But I do also think there is a broader political role for social workers. We do witness what families are going through on a day-to-day basis, and it's about bearing witness, and I think feeding in to policy debates, and linking with activist groups to do that. I certainly agree with everything you said.
I'll just throw the cat among the pigeons to say I do and I don't, actually. And I think that that might be something you might want to talk about later. I am increasingly anxious about what role social workers can and can't play, and I am really much more interested in thinking about how we can work together. And I do think that there's a lot of I think social workers need to be a lot more humble about their, that Becca Dove thing's really important. Families, I speak as a foster parent, children's relationships are with their families, with other children, with neighbours, with communities. Social workers are fleeting visitors in their lives. I agree with you about the political role, but I think we should be very humble about our role, really. But anyway, and we should see it always as about trying to support the networks and the communities rather than about us.
Okay. Thank you. It's probably something we might come back to in the later discussion as well. We've got a questioner here, and then Sheila, so maybe take a couple of questions.
Hi, Janice McGee. I'm an honorary fellow in the School of Social and Political Science at the University of Edinburgh. It's just about a question. I think you raised a really important point about how we have kind of outsourced child protection. And you emphasise the importance of recruiting, in a sense, a wider grouping or a wider community in order to try and change the narrative. And I just wondered if you could say a little bit more about that, because if you, in a sense, it's kind of a niche thing, child protection, and there's, you know, in terms of the child population, it's a very small percentage of the child population and a small percentage of women who, you know, who lose their children. And how do we actually, in a sense, break out of that? Because it's what Barry Feld said about the juvenile court in America. It's about other people's children, and how do we try and ensure that the whole of society, in a sense, feels responsible also for how these children are supported and how problems are dealt with.
Thank you. Maybe take Sheila.
Okay, so I work with Home Start, and I'm really interested in what you said, and actually spins on the last thing that you said about the role of the wider community and I suppose the deprofessionalising of sport. It's an ambition of mine that we could find some way of capturing just how much of that happens when the parents receive support. What do they then do informally support others? My question is that, in a sense, we've blocked ourselves in this sort of risk-averse box, not in just the professional world, but in our day-to-day life. So we're fearful of the response we'll get from co-parenters here. And I know that's not everywhere all the time, it's a very dominant trope. And in a sense, I think what you're alluding to is a seismic cultural shift, you know, of the order of magnitude of, say, the women's movement, where you're really pushing over a long period of time to say we need to do this differently to have this better world. And I'm kind of really interested in that aspect and where you think, how you think the seeds of that can be sown, so that, oh no, well, that's a bit arrogant, I think they are sown, but how can you cultivate that?
Yeah, well, funnily enough, I had a meeting with Home Start on Monday because we're hoping to start a little project in a local authority where we're going to do, we're going to look at, we write about it in the book, there's something called Communities That Care, which is a project in the States that is based on this mobilisation of the community. So we went to Home Start because exactly, they work in the community, they have a volunteer ethos. I was amazed at how open they were to thinking about this, because you're right, they also are worried about, you know, getting the wrong people, about having scandals, about doing the wrong thing. But you know, at the end of it, they were saying, this is so exciting. This is so exciting. But you're absolutely right. This is massive, and I already worry. I think I'll be retired, dead and gone before all of this is changed, because it'll require social workers to stop thinking that it is their job, and that and going back to Janice's thing, that they have the power and prestige, and it'll start all of us having to think about. There's a project in Australia called It Takes a Town. We're very familiar with the notion of It Takes a Village. There's a project in Australia called It Takes a Town, which has started as a town which had been decimated by a tornado, to think about how you build not only your physical but your social and cultural infrastructure. But massive, I totally agree with you.
And if you want to pick up on that, and also the point of how we do break out of that kind of outsourced approach to child protection.
Sorry, I was, sorry, what was that, the outsource? Janice?
I don't expect a sort of ABC programme, but I just wondered if you had some thoughts about how we recruit, you know, how we recruit the wider public, the wider parents to be supportive of a change in this area, when, as I say, it's what happens in the juvenile court in the States is that they're regarded as other people's children.
But it's not a big issue. It's not a small issue anymore, Janice. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I wasn't. Well, I think starting from, firstly, I think I'm answering this right. I'm not sure if I am. If I've got. Firstly, I think starting from, you know, I'm quite into the capability approach, which is mentioned, not in detail. I'd like to think about it more. How do we as a community try and create community resources to help our children flourish, to help, the well-being of children? So start more broadly with actually, linking to what you were saying about communities that care and trying to think about children's access to broader and families' accesses. How, what's the community like? What's the area like? And then I suppose, as I say, I think the broadness of neglect now and the categories of children coming into neglect, coming into the system for neglect, means that it's not actually that much of a niche in a lot of areas. And how do the schools, how do communities support a lot of these children that are actually experiencing probably similar harm, some that will have been within the focus of the child protection system, and some for a variety of different reasons won't be. I think we need to build a broader base about what do we do to help our children and our families flourish and well-being.
Yeah, of course. Sorry, I'm sorry. But first of all, Andrew Wilson's work shows that this is not niche, and that actually we're talking about quite a lot of children in particular areas getting caught up in the child protection system. Secondly, we have had an increasing demand in children's services with the increase in poverty. We have more and more children being referred. We have schools taking on the food hunger projects in local communities. And finally, this is really important, in the adoption inquiry, and this is really interesting, we might want to talk about this. In the adoption inquiry afterwards, I was talking to somebody from the BBC, and she was really interested in what happens to adoptive families when they encounter our child protection system, when they struggle with their kids. And she said that when they did a programme on this for the BBC, they'd never had such a response, including in the BBC. And what she and I agreed was, when the middle classes really engage with the child protection system is when you'll have change. And I think that is really important, actually. I also think the role of great journalists. I think going back to the women's movement, we've had, kind of a bit of a Me Too movement around domestic abuse, what happens to women around domestic abuse. Louise Tickle's work's really important in terms of saying these women were beaten up and lost their kids. Sorry.
No, I think that's exactly the point. How do we get parents from Gillespie, say, in Edinburgh, to be interested in this topic and feel that it's important to them as well as
I do
people
think
in other...
One final.
Well, just on the stories, I do think hearing the different stories, we really, it is through journalism, through TV, through we haven't mentioned that. Maggie's group, because the stories are told are stories of demons, of dangerous, of feckless parents. And actually we need to break down the us and them. We're all one. It's not an us and them. And the power of stories and people's narratives will help.
Thank you very much.